Swaminarayan Hare. In the 7th year, 1876, on the 12th day of the dark half of the month of Magh, in the evening, that is July 1st, 1824, Thursday, Sriji Maharaj was seated on the wooden bed seat laid in the veranda in the front of the half facing to the west, near the temple of Sri Vasudev Narayan in the Darbar of Dada Khachar in Gadhada. He had put a white upper garment over his shoulder and covered his body with the rich saffron colored cloth interwoven with gold and silver threads. He had put a headdress made of equally rich cloth on his head. Saints and devotees from various places had gathered before him in assembly. Having finished the chanting of the name of Narayan, the saints were singing devotional song accompanied with musical instruments like mridanga and jang. Then Sriji Maharaj asked the saints to stop singing and start questions and answer. He said, "Come, I will ask you a question. Bhagavan Sri Krishna has mentioned 4 kinds of devotees in Bhagavad Gita. Out of 4, the Gnani, the man of knowledge, is said to be the best. Now, if all the 4 are supposed to have equally firm faith in God, how can the Gnani be said to be superior to the rest?" This is a very good question. The saints tried to give an answer but could not give a satisfactory reply to the Sriji Maharaj. Thereupon, Sriji Maharaj said, "The Gnani behave as if he is one with the Brahma. He knows the greatness of God perfectly. He does not harbor any desire in his mind for anything else except for the God. The other 3 kinds of devotees, of course, have an equally firm faith in the God, but they do not know the greatness of God perfectly. Hence, they are prone to desire for other things beside God. That is why they do not come up to the level of the Gnani. It is a great mistake on the part of the devotee of the God that he desires also for other things beside the God. A person may be free from all worldly desires and may be intensely non-attached, but if he feels proud on that account and behaves heartily, then it is also a great mistake on his part. Again, he may possess the strength of self-realization or the strength of unflinching devotional to the God. But if he is proud of this virtue and does not pay due respect to the poor devotee and does not talk with him and humility, then also it is a great mistake on his part. And because of the mistake, his particular virtue will cease to grow. Let me illustrate this point. While digging a well, if the stone cutter comes across the stone, which sounds hollow, he will say, "There is a plenty of water underneath." But if the stone makes a ringing sound and emits spark while cutting, he will say, "There is a water underneath, of course, but it is very limited in quantity." In the same way, devotee who becomes proud on the account of his knowledge or non-attachment, that's a vairagya, or devotion, bhakti, may be considered great by others, but he will not be able to develop the great virtue to be found in a modest devotee. If one wants to please God, he should not become proud on account of his virtues like knowledge, non-attachment, or devotion. Bhagavan Sri Krishna will be pleased and reveal himself only in the heart of such a devotee. Then Muktan Swami said, "Maharaj, you said that man becomes proud on account of virtues like knowledge, non-attachment, and devotion. If it is so, please show us the way to be free from such pride. Sriji Maharaj replied, one should know the greatness of the devotee of God and pay him due respect by bowing and rendering service unto him. If the thing of pride creeps into his mind, he must at once be conscious of it and must try to get rid of by the power of his will. Then only he will be free from the pride. Except if person's devotion is full of intense love for God, and even if God is fulfilling his good desire on account of his devotion, but if he feels proud of his devotion, it is a great blunder on his part. If one feels proud of his knowledge or non-attachment, his pride will intensely his feeling of oneness of the soul with the body. Therefore, devotee of God should never feel proud on any account. That is the only way to please God. If the devotee is capable of looking within, and if he searches within his heart and find even a thing of pride, he will see that the image of God within his heart looks at him with the stern eye. On the other hand, if he finds that humility prevails in his heart, he will see that image of God within his heart look at him with a very pleasing eye. Therefore, a devotee of God should develop a strong will, power, and never allow any idea of pride to enter his heart. Knowledge, non-attachment, and devotion is tainted with the pride are like adulteration on base of the metal with the pure gold. The fineness of the gold is reduced to extent of adulteration. It is reduced more and more with the more and more adulteration. In the same way, the purity of knowledge, non-attachment, and devotion decreases more and more if tainted more and more with the pride. Knowledge, non-attachment, and devotion without pride are like a sterling gold. If they are tainted with pride, they may look attractive outwardly, but inwardly they lose their intrinsic strength. Let us take the illustration. The earth is 500 million yosan. 1 yosan is 4 miles in length, as well as the breadth. It supports the ocean and mountain and all the creatures. So it looks immensely powerful. But water is much more powerful than the earth. The earth floats on the surface of the water like a cake of crowd. And light is more powerful than water, and air is more powerful than light. And outwardly, though space does not look powerful at all, in fact, space is more powerful than other 4 elements. Rather, space sustains all the 4. Similarly, knowledge, non-attachment, devotion of the devotee, free from the pride, are immensely powerful like the face. But outwardly they look like possessing no power at all. But in fact, an humble devotee is said to be the best devotee. Just as a child has no idea of pride, the saint will also have no pride, even if he is honored and respected very highly. Hence, a devotee should be free from pride like an innocent child. Then again, Muktan Swami raised another question. We have heard in our holy fellowship that in satsang, the soul is different from 3 kinds of bodies, and that the soul is different from the senses and conscious, and the prana, the breath of the life, and that the soul is unaffected by the 3 states of the consciousness: wakeful, dreams, and deep sleep. And we firmly believe this. But such a blissful soul associates himself with the senses and the conscious and the other elements, and invite miseries for himself. What is the reason? Sriji Maharaj replied, some person acquire superhuman powers and other becomes the omniscient. Some other attain the status of deities. People achieve the greatness in the innumerable ways and even achieve the highest position. But all their achievements are result of the grace of God, earned through his upasana, devotion, with a firm faith in God. Nothing can be achieved without upasana. One may think that he will be able to know the nature of the Atma, Anatma, that is soul and the soulless object, animate and inanimate things, by the study of the scriptures or from the talk of the great saints. But none can know the nature of the animate or inanimate things this way. A person will be able to distinguish between animate and inanimate objects only to the extent of his faith in his beloved ideal of worship. But unless his beloved ideal of worship bestows on him the power to discriminate, nothing can be else. And one whose devotion to the God is full of intense love, like the cowherd damsels, is supposed to have achieved everything, and one whose love is not so intense should try to know the greatness of God. He must know that God is the master of his divine abode, known as Goloka, Vaikuntha, Svetdi, and Brahma Mahol. He must know that God appears on the earth by the human form only for the good of his devotee. But his divine image is always there in his abode, divine abode. Each one of his fingernails radiate with the luster of millions of suns. In this mortal world, when human beings worship him, they light a lamp before him, but he is the source of the light of the sun and the moon, everything that glows. He always resides in his divine abode like a Golo, and his devotee like Radhika and Lakshmi eternally remain in his service. And when all this universe are dissolved, it is only he who remains. And again, in the time of creation, it is only he who creates the innumerable universes through the Purush and Prakriti. One must know the greatness of God like this. They may know that way only one will be able to discriminate between the animate and inanimate objects. Non-attachment, that is a vairagya, will grow in his heart, is the extent of his firm faith in God accompanied with the knowledge of his greatness. Hence, one should depend on the strength of upasana, leaving aside all other means. Such a devotee knows that if he person chants the name of the Swaminarayan at the last moment, he will be redeemed of all his sins, and which will reach him to Brahma Mahal, divine abode of the God. However, the great sinner he may be. Then where is the doubt that is devotee of God who has sought his shelter with the divine abode of the God? Question. If one wants to understand the greatness of God like this, one should keep the company of the saint and grow in the thanks of upasana day by day. Iti Vachanamrutam, Gadhada II, 56 Vachanamrutam, J.